Welcome to EdUp Curriculum. I am your host, Nicole Poff, and I am so excited about today's guest. We had such a fun conversation a while back, and I hope to just bring that back today. I actually was looking through my notes, and I was so engrossed in the conversation the first time I talked to today's guest that the only notes I actually wrote down were restaurant recommendations and book recommendations. So I think that's like signals a really great meeting when you're so engrossed in the conversation that you actually don't take any meeting notes except for things to do in the future. So without further ado, today's guest is John Gartin. He is at Northern Arizona University. John, thank you so much for being here. I am excited today to talk about your path and all just the fun things you're doing up there. Before we begin, could you just introduce yourselves? What do you want kind of the audience to know about you during this podcast?
Yeah. Thank you so much. So John Gartin at Northern Arizona University. I've been here coming up now on 9.5 years. And to the folks at, and all the ships listing at sea, I'm stepped into the director of learning and development recently in the past 6 months. Before that, I was the director of career development for 4.5 years. I've also done a stint as a faculty member in our first year seminar, as well as compliance in our NCAA with our athletic department. And then probably some of the bigger background pieces was in the U.S. Navy Reserve for a short bit, about 8 years. Also was a women's rowing coach, both club, masters, juniors, and specifically collegiately for 12 years at several universities. And then also masters in organizational leadership and a couple other degrees along the way because I live in higher education.
We love to collect degrees.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited, John, because I always think that when you have dabbled in different spaces in higher ed, you just bring such a holistic perspective. I know you're not in career services world anymore, but I want to start there because I think some of the initiatives that you just worked on while you were in that role are really meaningful, especially as institutions. I think there's a couple factors right now is A, there's accountability that's coming into play, right? Like, are students getting employed? There's B, the tightening of budgets. So we have less people and we need to do more. And so I think a lot of the initiatives that we talked about that you helped kind of set up help schools push beyond that one-to-one coaching model that I think a lot of institutions are kind of stuck in right now. Is like, we have a career advisor, you come to them, we spend 60 hours talking. We just don't have the support to do that now, right? It's just not there. So I know this is a loaded question, but let's just start with kind of some high levels. Like, what were some of the things that you were proud of under your leadership of career services that you guys accomplished together?
Yeah, and I think one of the things I want to hit on is scale, and you kind of alluded to that. That one-on-one meeting always is impactful, and I hope the big we nationally, that we don't lose that with the try to like let's lightly touch everything, but the thing is here at Northern Arizona University, we've got and by the way, we're the small school. We're roughly right now at about 30K. I think we're slightly under that right now. Demographic cliff is there too, right along with just the other headwinds that we're seeing over the past 18 months. But yeah, for us, when I most recently did our head count, we've got just a little bit over 20 full-time staff across the whole enterprise. And some of those folks were assigned directly to the colleges, like our Franke Business School has its own team, and then as well as things like our College of Arts and Letters and the other colleges as well. But under my staff, we had close to 10 people, full-time staff, And then also we had a couple of grad students and several student employees. But how did we deliver information? And that was really challenging for us because you can't deploy all 10 of those folks. Even if we could have deployed all 10 of those folks just to focus on one-on-ones, still wouldn't have. There was still business, plenty of business for everybody involved. But one of the things that I think I was really proud of was just for us to start figuring out how do we do bigger and more with the finite amount of resources that we have. Like our events coordinator, Nicole, uh, crushing it and having, and in Northern Arizona, we're in Flagstaff, and so we're actually geographically removed from what everybody thinks is Arizona, which is Phoenix. Um, and also, just a quick, side note, yeah, we live at 7,000 feet. So for everybody listening, we get about 100 inches of snow per year, and so that should get everybody's attention going, Arizona. But that geographic removal really tested us in terms of getting employers here on campus, getting really, I think, robust events. But all of the folks in the career development, across our campus was really doing an excellent job of, okay, we have a career fair. Let's get the students there. And having these career fairs that were showing up where students were showing up in the hundreds, and we were having, several events during the year that we had north of 1,500 students checking in. But the thing is we also diversified our engagement at that event. It wasn't just, hey, we're having a career fair. It's what else can we do? So like most recently, we were partnering with our mentor teams to have our mentors be docents at the career fairs. That got two, real, actually probably more than two, was one, the mentors are now coming to the career fairs, but now the students that are coming are actually having a much more robust experience because I have pictures, I put them in my PowerPoint of dragons at career fairs, where that I think that's what our students, and I'm a geographer by academic background, but our students are worried about stepping off the map. They're worried about coming into these career fairs where there's literally, in their mind, dragons. Like it's scary. But to have that docent for the D&D fans out there, that paladin sitting at the door saying, I'm here to protect you, I'm here to help you, I'm here to serve, really was, I think, very impactful. And I think that, it's something that we could carry forward where it's like, okay, well, now the student has a very good experience, not just, well, and I want to actually change that. It's not good, but it's great. They came in and they were like, wow, somebody helped me. Not only did I have a great experience at that event, somebody helped me. And so we're doing that at scale. Another one, in everybody, in generative AIs, it's the soup du jour right now. But how do we use that as well as I think, career development needs to be a space where we're leading, not just waiting for somebody to develop a program, not just for, going, okay, well, we know it exists and we'll play with it. But how do we deliver that? How do we create um, workshops that, again, at scale, instead of having a one-on-one and teaching a single student, we're now teaching 30, 50, 100, or in our Psych 101 class, 600, which, by the way, is really intimidating. But being able to teach those students in those spaces and really reaching out to the professors, like, because that was key in these workshops, because I know that we can host workshops and post them all over the place, but our students, I know at our campus, not probably speaking to a lot of folks at our campus, a lot of our students are working one, two, even more part-time jobs, or in one case, I spoke to a student last week about something else. They literally are working 40 hours a week, and I'm like, and taking a full course load, and I don't know how they're doing it because I couldn't when I was an undergrad. And so we have to meet them where they're at. So we're partnering with faculty to bring these workshops. Well, one of the workshops that well, actually several different types of workshops, but one of the themes of some of the workshops is bringing how do you use generative AI in your career pursuits? And also respecting the fact that some students are like, I don't want to use it. That's great. But if I don't, as a career development professional or as a L&D professional, teach you this, if you choose to use it, great, totally up to you. But if I don't put that out there, my students now are at a disadvantage. My students now are less competitive. And Nicole, I'm sure you've seen it where people are putting out that data that, north of 60% of CEOs and industry leaders are saying if it's equal, ceteris paribus between two students or two potential employees, if one student has AI skills, they're going with that person. Like that's literally a tipping point decision maker. Also, we're now giving presentations on how to interpret the coded job postings, where students are running in and going, well, it doesn't say AI in there. It's like, no, but look at the software, look at the expectations, look at the code. Like in one, I saw, they were posting for a graphic designer. Well, Adobe Creative Suites, AI, generative AI systems, large language models are now built into Adobe tools. In addition, the next line below it was must be familiar with Figma. Okay, it's a software platform. No, it's a generative AI tool. So if our students don't have that understanding, they don't know to look for that. And we need the career development professionals coming into the classroom and contextualizing their classroom experience into a career experience. But also, again, an advantage for us is to go, okay, let's create these workshops, partner with our faculty, go where the students are at, do this at scale. So, if we're doing instead of doing 30 one-on-ones, we do 30 workshops. So instead of meeting 30 students, we're now meeting 900. And the faculty love it. And one of the, and I want to put this out to the folks, is one of the ways you can pitch it is tell the faculty, hey, don't cancel class, call us. If you've got a conference you're going to, let us come and cover the class.
I
And I
love
can tell
that.
you right now that sells, because
Yeah.
faculty are all like, oh wait, I'm out December 4th. Like, yeah, here's the date I'm out. Come cover class. We're like, great, we'll be there. We'll take attendance, whatever you need. We'll show up. But yeah, but really, figuring out that scale piece has been a real challenge. And believe me, I don't think any of us have that, silver bullet solution. But it's like, okay, but the other piece is, and I would encourage everybody, partnering and not just simply letting the faculty know we exist, is for us to go, hey, we want to come to your classroom. And there are some folks who are like, yeah, whatever, they won't. Get the way I say it is get the folks who are the ones that bought the iPhone 1, the early adopters. Like yeah. So, and it's been a bit of a, uphill battle, but instead of us being, as a Marine gunnery sergeant shared with me one day, being trapped with large steel desk syndrome, so sitting in our office waiting for us to call, we went out and we sold. We're like, you want to partner with us, we will find a way to partner with you, we will find a way to contextualize your content, we want to come cover your class, we want to be in your classroom covering your content. And yeah, we got, once we got the ball rolling, it really was just a lot of really great partnerships that I think was, over the past 4 years, 4.5 years, kept levering up. Not and because over the past 4.5 years, I'll be honest, like our one-on-ones really uh, stayed consistent, like in terms of our amount of deliveries. The thing that really, I think, ramped up in the number of students that we served was in the workshop space and doing things that we could do in a larger way. Oh, and one other that I've got a whole list, so I could probably take up the next 45 minutes. But the other is we use Udemy for Business as a one of our learning platforms. Um, the students all have access as well. And we've been leveraging that. And Career Steps was actually a project that was made probably about 10 years ago. And so I took over, I did not create it. There were others that were involved in creation, but I took over management. But it was in a traditional LMS. We moved it to Udemy, where now the students and the faculty and all these folks have really very quick access to it, and the faculty can use it in their curriculum. But we now can deliver, and again, at scale, 5, 10, 15 minute bite-sized chunks of content. And we probably have right now close to 35 different courses that are built in there that we can go in and change and we can adapt and modify. But it's also us being able to go, here you go, here's content, and for you to be able to access that asynchronously 365.
You just gave so many nuggets. I think, I mean, my mind is blown about the covering for faculty when they're out. Genius. Truly, truly, truly genius. Because yeah, they're just going to cancel class. So
Mhm.
might as well not. Um, Secondly, faculty champions. I will say for career services, faculty champions are like your BFFs. You need to make them your BFFs because when you have a champion, you don't just have one. They then go tell their friends, and before you know it, you have more faculty because their trusted peer recommended you guys. When I worked in career services, and this is very similar to you guys, I felt like I was in a startup. Like I felt like I was out there hustling for a new business instead of just sitting in my office, right? Like you were talking about, it's like any faculty member that will meet with me, I'm meeting with them and I'm going where they're eating lunch and I am doing all the things to try to get them to talk to me so that they can see that we're not just sitting in our office waiting for a student to stumble upon us, that we want to partner with them and engage with them. So faculty and like you said, not just, I call it in higher ed, this like, if you build it, they will come mentality. And I think career services, and I love career services so much, but I think it's very easy to fall into this. It's like, oh, we're going to develop a new module series. We're going to develop a new webinar series, right? Just thinking if we build it, all the students will come. But John, I was actually the student that you were talking about. That was me. I worked 40 hours a week and I took 19 to 21 units at a time at a traditional state campus, San Diego State. San Diego State, we have that background we have that in common. I actually had to change my job every semester because the school schedule was so rigid that from semester to semester, I could never keep the same hours. So my resume upon college graduation was not even usable, even though I was working the entire time. It showed changing jobs every 5 months. And that was because I had to accommodate my school schedule. And sometimes I had to have 3 jobs to make up that 40 hours because my school schedule just made no logical sense at all. And I think about like when you were talking about faculty, if I was sitting in a class and I had my faculty member and they would have brought up, hey, go to a job fair, what difference could that have made for me who basically just lived on, at the time it was like Craigslist, right? Like finding jobs on Craigslist. I was just always aware of Craigslist and the opportunities that were there because I had to be. But if I knew that I had partners within the institution, I just didn't have the mental space to even think about that. And I didn't know that they existed.
Yeah, the partnering with I probably should trademark this. Is I've said repetitively, the faculty have the biggest megaphone. Like they're meeting with the students, if it's a half semester, 8 weeks, 16 weeks, 32 weeks, maybe multiple years, like that student's a major. And so, I want to stress to both the career development folks, right along with our faculty folks, is, yeah, create that partnership because you're gonna, and I'm a big believer in the metaphor of at least just one. And pick up that starfish, put it back in the ocean, and what's it matter with the millions? It doesn't, but it matters to that one. And so even if we sway one, the ripples are so valuable. And to you, what you just said about that interconnection link, like my wife teaches here at the university in the School of Art and Design. Uh, yes, I have leveraged that entree point where I know pretty much the entire faculty for our School of Art and Design and have presented, or my teammates have presented in their classes, or engaged with them in one way, shape, or form. And so, early adopter, my wife, everybody else was like, oh, wait, John will come to my class. It's like, oh, yeah, come on in. And the sales, you have to pound the pavement. And yeah, I love the idea that if we had a field of dreams and we build it and Kevin Costner's there waiting and we're all going to play baseball, it just doesn't work that way, because even now more so, because you talked about it before, is with decreasing budgets, increasing stressors, like all of us, the career development folks, the faculty folks, all the staff in student affairs, all the faculty, all the staff in academia, um, we're feeling it. And so what we really do need is folks reaching out saying, "Hey, can I help you?" You know, and even if it doesn't work this semester, like there were folks I was like, "Oh, this time next year, great. I'll put you on my calendar." I didn't care how far out it was. You are now my friend. And so I really wanted to be able to get in there. Another element to the career development folks is make friends with the associate deans and the assistant deans. Like they are money every single day of the week. And like with our I'll highlight one of our associate deans, Alexandra, in our College of Arts and Letters, forward thinking, like really had big picture vision, was like, oh, career development and career readiness. Yes. And how do we, and to her credit, like she brought us in as partners, and now she has a career professional inside of the college who's Gokchan's just crushing it. And but it's that leveling up where it's like, here's somebody who, because we had that engagement, we reached out, they reached out. Um, and quite honestly, I'm not sure who reached out first between the two of us, but they were very much like, how do we partner? How do we think ahead? How do we do this for our faculty, and then, and ultimately our students? Huge. And then again, going back to the, at scale, like when you can get an associate dean to really be a great ally, you're capturing a gigantic portion of your population, and it's been key that way. And so, for us to be able to support the faculty and to support the early adopters, then we have those opportunities to get that next, that winning the locker room, coaching background. So here comes if I don't throw at least one or two rowing metaphors in here, my family would be completely disappointed. But yeah, it's like, okay, let's get those early adopters, the first 10, 20%, because that middle group, that 60%, they're going to come along when they see, oh, wow, you guys did this, or wow, that leveraged that. But getting back to the megaphone piece is like, if we can get the faculty to allow us into the classroom just once, 5 minutes, 50 minutes, hour and 30, whatever I would take anybody, whatever the time was for us to come in. However, I do have a real hard time going, oh, 5 minutes? Okay, I'll keep it to 5 minutes. I mean, that was like a bit of a joke in my department. It's like, oh, Tyler's made a 10-minute presentation. It'll only take John 20 minutes to deliver. But, for us to get in there and just support and help and do whatever we need to, any and all engagement was always worth it to me. And then another one that occurred to me was we were partnering with fraternities and sororities. And so Marissa Griffin, who's in charge of all of that, she actually had us now coming in and talking to her. We actually created with the Pan Hellenic Council, we created content that came in that was all about recruiting, but it was recruiting with career strongly woven into the whole thing. And so, the sororities and fraternities recruit. Absolutely. So do athletics. Absolutely. But for us to come in and coach them and to teach it as a career skill, here we are again at scale where I'm talking to hundreds of members of our Panhellenic, the whole, all of these sororities, and they're getting a skill that they can use right now, but they're also seeing it as, oh, wow, this is a career skill. This is not a 5-minute skill. This is a 30-year skill.
And I think, sometimes the perception of career services is like resume and cover letters. Like
Oh,
that is,
every day.
oh, right? That's what you guys do
That's
is
what we do.
resume and career. Yeah. That's all you do. And so showing like there is our menu of services goes, that's like where we start, right? We go far beyond that. I love bringing sororities and fraternities into it. I was thinking about, as you were talking, you had a team of 10. A lot of institutions that I talk to surprisingly have a team of one career advisor, and they service the entire school. And that's just not feasible to have one-on-one conversations and do it by themselves as a party of one. Just not, especially when you know that accountability is coming down. How can you get 100% of the students, career ready as one person? And so you've given so many different ideas about partnering with faculty, sororities and fraternities, getting in the classroom, these workshops, right? There's all these ways that people who are even a party one or two or three could scale their services. Now, I love career services, but I left career services. I'm curious. Do you ever find yourself like what's my question here? Do you find yourself missing it? It's like very fulfilling, satisfying work. I always say like my heart will be in career. I love academia. I love curriculum, but a piece of my heart will always be like with career services. Do you feel that way too?
Yeah, no, I went and delivered in two classrooms yesterday with one of my. So I was in first year experience, first year seminar as a faculty member, and I'm real fortunate to be still. I think I'm like the pet dog for them. It's like, oh, John's here, yay, and I have so many friends in that department. They're absolutely wonderful human beings teaching that first year seminar classes. But I was real fortunate to partner with one of them and deliver content that was all, it was actually about generative AI and how they need to be aware of how that's impacting their career goals and their career trajectory. And again, if you don't want to use it, that's great. But if I don't tell you about it, that's a me problem, not a you problem. If you don't want to use it, awesome. But if you're going to apply to these jobs and for the career folks, like, yeah, go on LinkedIn. In fact, actually everybody, administrator all the way down to our program coordinators, go on LinkedIn and take a look. Like the number of job roles that are posting saying you need to have these skills, it's grown by leaps and bounds since November 22 when ChatGPT 3.5 just smacked us in the face. But now it's baked into practically half, if not more, of the job descriptions that are out there. At least, that's not an official statistic, but that's how it feels. Um, but in 4 years, and this was a freshman class I was talking to, in 4 years, like these students, if they don't have those skills, they're not going to be competitive. Like, and again, they don't have to use them, but they need to know. And so we've got to figure out how to teach that. And so, for us, we that partnership is huge with those faculty members. And for me, that's how I feed myself is like these partnerships that I have created now that I'm in, HR. Right? And by the way, for the folks that really do HR, I'm in HR light, LITE. I do L&D. Like other people do really heavy work and actually like mad respect to every single HR person out there. Like they do work. I quite honestly, my job's a lot of fun. um, but I've missed it. Yeah, because the career. But I was telling these students, I was like, yeah, you could take me out of career development. You're not going to take career development out of me. Like you're. If we have a restaurant here on campus, 1899. And I was talking to one of the wait staff, and I literally went into career mode, going, okay, so what are you doing? Like, how's your resume? Do your LinkedIn? Have you talked to career development? Et cetera. So, yeah, my wife at times she's like, I have to coach everybody. I'm like, I might have to coach everybody,
Yeah.
but I think also though all of us, our career development, and for the faculty, okay, so I am gonna like be a little bit maybe just edgy here for a second. For the faculty that say I don't do career development, I'm gonna really beg to differ because that student, yes, they're in your classroom to learn, absolutely. They because you are the subject matter expert. But when we take a look at why are students going to a college or university, not yours, not whatever the one we work at. The UCLA freshman survey says north of maybe almost 85% of respondents said that career development and the reason they went to a university is to get a job. North of 80% said they went to a university to get technical training. And north of 75%, and this is where I'm like, thank you for being honest, students, 75% of them said, yeah, I went to a university to make more money. Um, we've done our numbers here at Northern Arizona University. Our numbers are even higher for each one of those categories. And you know, the students are here. Why did they come to NAU? Love the environment. We have four seasons. We have you know, a mountain next to us that's at 12,005. We 10 minutes in any direction and you're out in the forest and hiking. You know, like I can pitch NAU all day long, but that's why they come to NAU, perhaps, you know, and we've got a great forestry program. We've got a great nursing program. We've got a great hotel restaurant management program. We've got a great engineering, et cetera. Let's go on. But why did they go to a university? Because they want a job that's going to help them, their families, and their communities. And we're all contributing to that. So we're all career development. So even the faculty member that says, well, I don't do career development, I would say, honestly, actually, you know, I hate to put it this way, but you're wrong. You know, you do. And you serve that student by educating them and letting them become subject matter experts in their field so that they can go get a better job. And that's huge. And so for all of us, every single time we see a student, we have to figure out, how can I help them advance their why? How can I help them join a club that's going to be an experiential learning opportunity, to go study abroad, which is another experiential learning opportunity, to help them get connected with career development so they, and beyond resume, cover letters, and interview skills. You know, how can I help them in the classroom become a better communicator, which is a NACE career competency, or a better leader, which is another competency, or a better professional. Like now that when I teach classes, I don't take attendance. I actually describe it as a professional skill that I'm teaching you, because what's a job expect? Expects you to show up and be on time, whether it's virtually, hybrid, in person, whatever the role is. They're expecting a professional. So instead of me saying, hey, you have to be here in class, I describe it as, hey, you have to show up at work. Like, this is the skill I'm teaching you, is you have to be here and show up and be ready to go. Because if you don't, then the rest of the class suffers, and quite honestly, the team suffers, and honestly, you suffer, because I'm not holding you to that expectation that an employer would say, hey, I didn't see you for the past 48 hours, you're fired. Like, how do we train that? And we have to be innovative in how we train that, but we have to train that, and everybody contributes to that. You know, one last piece to that is, like, I say this once in a while, yeah, I don't know if this is true or urban legend, but John F. Kennedy was at the Cape Canaveral at the beginning of the Apollo program, and ran into one of the custodial staff and was like, sir, what do you do here? And he turns around and goes, Mr. President, I'm here to put somebody on the moon. Yeah, every single person on the university campus is here to help a student get a degree and make an impact and be an outstanding employee and an outstanding citizen in their community. And everybody does that. And we all have an opportunity every day to contribute that to our students.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, I think faculty, I understand they're trying to hold on to, you know, their role. But you bring up something that I have been battling actually on LinkedIn about lately, is this idea of compliance versus skills. And are we doing something in our class to basically just get students to be compliant, or are we teaching them the skill? An example, I don't know if you saw this on LinkedIn. This was a hot thread the other day. You're smiling. I don't know if you saw this, but
I may not have, but I'll jump back in.
I got some hate mail for this one. This is the first one that really, really made people angry.
Wow.
I basically said, stop asking students to label their assignments in a very specific fashion. First name, last name, the name of the assignment, right? And what I meant by that is stop dictating. All they're doing is copying and pasting your exact format name, changing it to their name, and popping it in. And the pushback that I got was, these skills are important for the workplace. My argument is, by mandating the exact way in which they have to save their assignment and docking points, we're not actually teaching them the importance of file organization. We're not teaching them the skill of how to keep their files organized and be able to find things, right? Like these are professional skills. But when we list in the expectations, you must label your file this or you're getting points. I will die on the hill that that is not a skill. Like you need more. And yeah, people were like, "Oh, you're the queen of snowflakes." People were really, really upset that, yeah, people like reshared it and was like, "This is the most stupid thing I've ever seen." But it really made faculty
Yeah.
upset.
I
Yeah.
I would maybe take it from an approach of I think we need to do both. And I'm not saying this to be like, kind to anybody or everybody, is one, I think our students, we need to continue to reinforce that, hey, when your project manager says, here's the format, here's the grant that we have to apply to, here's the, the client wants it exactly like this, we need to do it exactly like that. But the creative, the allowance for students to go, okay, how are you going to do this and how are you going to design this? Yeah, we have to also have that ability to be, I think, flexible in allow students to have that expression and allow students to navigate on their own. Because when they get to that job, they're going to have to figure out how are you going to approach this? How are you going to tackle this? How are you going to organize it? How are you going to fill in the blank? Um, because I think that, I've seen frequently where students will submit work and okay, so clearly I have a lot of pet peeves because at one point my athletes gave me a journal going my that's entitled my pet peeves, and they're like, here coach, you need to write all these down. Um, like Google Docs, like don't send me a link because I can't get in there because I know you didn't format it correctly and I can't get access to your assignment. Makes me
And to
bananas.
request access.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, when when you take a picture and you don't do that correct within the parameters, well, now, and this is something that my wife runs into frequently. Like she says, like, I need you to take an image of that and submit it in this fashion because that's the parameters of how you would submit it to a gallery or to a competitive juried event. But also, she's like, I don't care what size paper you use to make your project. I don't care what ink you use, whether it's this one, this one, or this one. I don't care what colors you use. It's your project. But here's here are the finites, and here's where you can be expressive. And so that's where I kind of come at it from both sides of like, okay, at times we have to train the professionalism part of like, got to do it X, Y, Z, or it's like, hey, use the whole alphabet, knock yourself out.
And I think you made a great point that the context is important. Even when we give specific parameters, it's like, here's the why. I'm not just doing this because I want to rule the world. I'm doing this because this is going to help you out professionally,
Okay.
which comes back full circle to your point that we are here to develop them professionally. So if we're going to mandate they label their files specifically for the sake of their employer, right? Future employment. But then we're also going to say we don't prepare students for the workplace, like we're not about career development. Then that seems like an oxymoron, right? Like it seems like we're trying to fight both things. If we can just all get on the same page of, yeah, we're here to prepare our students for the real world. I think a lot of these debates or hot takes or, whatever will just settle themselves if we can just universally agree our students are coming here to get a job, to improve their job, to get skill, put in any variation of that phrase that you want to. If we can all agree on that, then these conversations around skills and career readiness just become so much easier. But they're really hard when there's some who just refuse to accept. Like it's like this, Harvard, like Harvard when it first started, it was all men. you didn't go there to get a job. You went there because your family wanted to turn you from a boy to a man, and there was no real outcomes attached to it. We're really far away from that now. Like that's not, and we've expanded access so much, that it's, we're just using the same model from back then and refusing to accept that students want to come to college to get jobs.
Yeah, and this should be potentially contentious, but we'll see what kind of responses we get from the folks at home. Is okay. So one, Harvard's a vocational institution at this point in time. So is Caltech. So is Northern Arizona University. So is Arizona State. Pick your school. And the reason I say that is, again, we're teaching folks to go into the workforce. Like, what's one of our ROIs? What is one of our KPIs? What is one of our OKRs? Like, literally, it's the measure of, did students benefit from being here? Now, hey, you want to major in fine arts and go be a painter? Absolutely. I back that 100%. Okay. You don't have to go to a university to go get this is where I'm worried about the direction that some of us are taking, where it's like, oh, university should only offer these majors because these are the most employable ones. It's like that's not for us to decide. We have a responsibility to the entire ecosystem, and there are careers in all of these spaces. But the way we approach that is we have to have that mindset that, hey, great, we are subject matter experts in X, Y, and Z. And why do our students get excited when they get into Harvard? Like, you have these videos on YouTube and you see students losing their minds when they open up the email and they got accepted, because they know that they have changed their life, their family's life, and their community life with the potential of that. Okay, let's take the Ivies out of the picture for a moment. The rest of us need to meet that same level of, oh my gosh, I got into XYZ university. This is going to change my life. And when day one, when that student, first gen student, literally none of their family went to college at all. They are somebody who, they're maybe from a multi-generational household, and multiple vectors on pushing back on the potential success of that student. On day one, we have to meet that why. We have to get that student just as excited as they were when they got accepted to your university about the fact that we are going to help you achieve dreams. We're going to help you become part of something that is even bigger than they could ever possibly imagine. That we're going to position them to pursue whatever they want to pursue. And that's the great thing about universities. You can come here, it's a buffet. Like, go sample all these things and go, okay, which ones do I want to go back for seconds? Great. Okay. And I'm going to eat that all day long, and I'm going to major in that all day long. Fantastic. We have found something that gets you ignited and potentially gives you something that you're dreaming about when you graduate. And so, but we have so many people that already do that, but we need to double down on that. We need to triple down on that, where we're emphasizing that on day one, I'm going to help you achieve these things. And one of those big, big things that sometimes we don't point at is, I'm going to help you start your career right now in this 101 class, whatever the subject might be. And look at all these other resources in career development and student affairs, and that jobs you can get on campus and the jobs you can get off campus. And then coming back into the classroom, and I realized that, many of our faculty members, heck, even arguably before I stepped into these roles, I'm not, a lifelong career development person, but I am a lifelong career developer. I remember when I was coaching women's rowing at Nova Southeastern University, literally me and one of my students, who ultimately, and it's a slight brag, she became University Student of the Year. So yeah, gonna take that one and roll with it.
Yeah.
But her and I sat down. We were traveling to one of our regattas, and we mapped out a business plan. Okay, I coach women's rowing. That we were on the water, stuff like that. But here I am going, okay, and I challenge everyone to do that with one student. is to sit down and go, what's your dream? Let me spend 30 minutes and help you. Because I know for a fact that now she is the president of her and her husband's company and they employ 10 people. A piece of our conversation went with it. And to me, you could say that that was if that was my only singular win ever that I ever had at higher education, fantastic. I'm walking away with it, holding up my trophy. Let's go. But a picture of this is, we have thousands of employees at our universities. We have tens of thousands of students. That sounds hard. But the thing is if each and every one of us takes that same mentality of, I'm here to put somebody on the moon and helps that one student, if there's thousands of us helping thousands of students, we're going to get that student to the moon. Now, one other thing that, and building on okay, how do we help the student right there and then is let's use the NACE competencies and we're doing that here. And you go back to the original question you had like a while ago, what were some of your wins? Okay, here's, I feel like this is another win. We actually are putting, and even now that I'm out, this is still happening, the ball's still rolling. We're putting the NACE competencies into student employment job profiles. So every student job profile by this time next year will have, here are the top 3 or 4 career competencies this on-campus job will help you develop. Also, we have that built into now all of our student clubs and orgs. When our student clubs and orgs register in student affairs, they have to explicitly say, here are the career competencies that we believe our members will benefit from being part of our organization. And we're putting those into syllabus where, generally the faculty member can say, here are the 2 or 3 career competencies that this class will potentially teach you. Now, in a couple of departments and in a couple of colleges, they're actually taking that one step further and they're attaching those career competencies to signature assignments and saying, why are you writing this paper? To teach you the X, Y, and Z career competencies and using the NACE competencies and we're using the NACE competencies, the National Association of Colleges of Employers, as the common vocabulary. So they're going to see the NACE competencies in student employment. They're going to see the NACE competencies in clubs and orgs. They're going to see the NACE competencies in career development. They're going to see the NACE competencies in classrooms. And so, and when we talked offline briefly, I may have described this, but it's a crate cake. Okay, so for all the fans out there of the British Baking Show, okay, one crate's great. I love crepes. But when I start stacking those crepes, clubs and orgs, career development, employment on campus, every single class that they take, those students are going to graduate knowing that they did get career developed, that that their career readiness is ready to go. Now, each student's crepe cake is going to be a completely different flavor because they joined this club as opposed to that club, or they were a fraternity, or they were an athlete. They took this major, they took these classes, they did this job on campus, they did this job off campus. So each cake is unique, but it's literally that student's signature assignment, signature dish. Like they can put that in front of Paul Hollywood and go, look at that.
Yeah,
You tell me that's not worth a handshake.
totally. And I think, when I was in career services, people used to graduate and they'd be like, there's a job board sitting in front of me with all these job descriptions and I don't know how I meet them. And so I think by giving that common language when an employer says, how can you demonstrate critical thinking skills, right? They're going to be able to reference those essays they wrote or those case studies or the student organizations, all of those things, they're going to be able to give real concrete evidence that funnels back up to what the employer wants versus right now, I think it's just like, oh, I don't know, how did I? Because they're not connecting that college experience to the real world. That's so good. Okay. I wish we could talk about this all day.
Me too.
We're actually at time. But John, this has been so good. I hope that all of the career services people listening and even faculty, right? I think there is so much value in this for faculty, student advising. You have just given so many little nuggets of gold that whether you're a team of 10 or you're a team of one or your faculty member could really take and run with. So thank
Uh,
you for giving us your time today.
nah, it's a privilege to be here, Nicole, and thank you so much for having the opportunity for us to have again, like you were saying earlier, do you still feel like you're in career development or want to be in career development? Yeah. I'm never going to retire from that. No matter what role I'm in, I'm going to be developing people.
Totally. I completely agree. Well, thanks, Sean, for being here.
Thank you.
For those who are listening, we will see you next week.